Willie Sachko destroys the flat earth. Here's what all of your proofs are worth. Willie Sachko destroys the flat earth. If you actually buy the shit, then I legitimately feel bad for you because you're wrong, and here's why.
Hey, what's happening? It's Willie the Composer here, back with another episode of Willie Sachko Destroys the Flat Earth. I've been on vacation lately, had a nice little break, took a bunch of video that's going to be coming out in the upcoming weeks. You guys get to see some of the things I've been doing. I apologize for the poor audio quality of this video. Shooting outside today, not for any particular reason. I just, wanted to change the scenery. It's nice to get away from the tan walls and air conditioning every now and then and sit outside and sweat your ass off. Oh, as you may have noticed, I am indeed wearing glasses. Yes, one of the things that happened during my vacation is I found out I have astigmatism, and I ordered glasses, and here they are. I think they look alright. Of course, the only people that have told me they look alright are my closest friends and family members, so they may have just been being nice. So go ahead and be honest. How do I look? I don't know. I think I might look actually a little bit better. These are Randy Jackson glasses. He knows how to make glasses for people with fat faces. Anyways, let's get to it. Before we begin today's episode, I would like to make a few things clear. I'm actually kind of happy that the last episode got as many downvotes as it did, because it means that Flat Earthers watched it and that they are aware of the presence of this series. I hope they continue to watch, and I hope they continue to comment and argue in the comments, which they did quite a lot of. I fully endorse this behavior, but you may have noticed that I didn't participate in a lot of these arguments in the comments, mainly because they were either bringing up points which have already been addressed or will be addressed in future episodes. Either that, or they ask me to defend the globe, which is not the goal of this series. This series is not meant to bolster the scientific consensus. The purpose is to refute and debunk the ill-informed, factually inaccurate belief in the flat earth. To put it shortly, if you want to see proof of why the earth is round, go somewhere else. There are a lot of places to go. Here, I'm going to tell you why the earth isn't flat. Now let's begin.
12. The Manchester Ship Canal Company published in the Earth Review stated, "It is customary in railway and canal constructions for all levels to be referred to a datum which is nominally horizontal and is so shown on all sections. It is not the practice in laying out public works to make allowances for the curvature of the earth."
I explained this in the last video of this series, and it really should have been in that one, but due to time constraints, it rolled over into this one. So if you want to hear about the Earth Review and calculating for Earth's curvature, go ahead and click on episode 2.
13. In a 19th century French experiment by M.M. Biot and Arago, a powerful lamp with good reflectors was placed on the summit of Desierto las Palmas in Spain, and able to be seen all the way from Capri on the island of Ibiza. Since the elevation of the 2 points were identical and the distance between covered nearly 100 miles, if the Earth were a ball 25,000 miles in circumference, the light should have been more than 6,600 feet, a mile and a quarter, below the line of sight.
First of all, it wasn't somebody named M.M. Biot. It was a guy by the name of Jean-Baptiste Biot. Not only is that an outright lie, it's just unnecessary to lie about that. But I'm just going to go ahead and chalk that up to factual inaccuracy, rather than deliberate distortion of reality, which flat earthers seem to be fond of. Anyway, the objective of the experiment was actually to accurately calculate the length of the meter. So apart from the obviously biased flat earth sites, I can't find any real evidence that they actually set up lights for this purpose. There's definitely a similarity between this proof and the next one, so we'll go right ahead to that one.
14. The Lieutenant Colonel Portlock experiment used oxyhydrogen Drummond's lights and heliostats to reflect the sun's rays across stations set up across 108 miles of St. George's Channel. If the Earth were actually a ball 25,000 miles in circumference, Portlock's light should have remained hidden under a mile and a half of curvature.
So I actually had a bit of a hard time with this one, finding Lieutenant Colonel Portlock, but eventually I did find Joseph Ellison Portlock, who was a major general, not a lieutenant colonel, by the way. He was a surveyor. He surveyed much of Ireland, calculating altitudes and distances. But what he didn't appear to do was set up these Drummond lights, as this proof seems to claim. He did work with a British-Canadian Colonel Drummond, Inherit the Wind, Scopes Monkey Trial. It's a good movie. Anybody? But it wasn't the same Drummond who Drummond's lights are named after. It just seems like they're trying to make a connection that's not there. The thing is, I would love to check these numbers as well as the ones for the last one, but it's unnecessary to do so because I can't even find any proof that these experiments with the lights being set up actually took place. If anybody has any evidence that they did set up these lights, any accounts of this happening outside of Flat Earth websites, please present this evidence to me.
15. If the Earth were truly a sphere 25,000 miles in circumference, airplane pilots would have to constantly correct their altitudes downwards so as to not fly straight off into outer space. A pilot wishing to simply maintain their altitude at a typical cruising speed of 500 miles per hour would have to constantly dip their nose downwards and descend 2,777 feet, over half a mile, every minute. Otherwise, without compensation, in 1 hour's time, the pilot would find themselves 31.5 miles higher than expected.
Wow, is that retarded? I mean, I hate to use that word, it's a harsh word, but that's how I feel. Because by saying that planes flying straight would go straight into space, you're saying that gravity has no effect on planes. Listen, objects in midair are still subject to gravity. That's why when you throw something up in the air, it comes back down. I have no idea how the fuck you could explain gravitational pull just magically stopping at an altitude which is minuscule compared to the size of the Earth. I mean, regardless of what shape the Earth is.
16. The experiment known as Airy's failure proved that stars move relative to a stationary Earth and not the other way around. By first filling a telescope with water to slow down the speed of light inside, then calculating the tilt necessary to get the starlight directly down the tube, Airy failed to prove the heliocentric theory, since the starlight was already coming in the correct angle with no change necessary, and instead proved the geocentric model correct.
George Bedell Airy was a scientist who lived from 1801 to 1892. He actually accomplished a great deal in his lifetime, including calculating the mean density of the Earth and establishing Greenwich as the location of the prime meridian. But flat earthers and geocentrists seem to be only interested in his failure. What's funny is that this failure doesn't even really benefit them, because it's predicated on the existence of ether. Now, I'm not talking about the drug ETHER. I'm talking about AETHER. It was sort of postulated as an explanation for how light can be a wave and yet behave the way it does, spreading consistently, being at a constant speed. It's supposed to be a wave, but yet it doesn't seem to do the same thing sound does. Airy thought that you could slow down the speed of light, which you can't, using a water telescope, right? And because he didn't observe any difference between the water telescope and a regular telescope, to this day, misguided people seem to think that means that the position of the Earth is stationary and the stars are what's moving. This would make the heliocentric model false. But what this experiment actually indicates is that there's no such fucking thing as ether. The experiment was fucked from the start because it assumed that ether existed. In case you don't understand what this ether is, it's okay. I'm not going to try to help you understand it because it's been thoroughly debunked for over a century, thanks to this little theory you may have heard of, Einstein's theory of relativity.
17. Olbers' paradox states that if there were billions of stars, which are suns, the night sky would be filled completely with light. As Edgar Allan Poe said, "Were the succession of stars endless, then the background of the sky would present us a uniform luminosity, since there could exist absolutely no point in all that background at which would not exist a star." In fact, Olbers' paradox is no more a paradox than George Airy's experiment was a failure. Both are actually excellent refutations of the heliocentric spinning ball Earth model.
Okay, so straight away, Edgar Allan Poe was an author from the 1800s. So I really don't give a fuck what he has to say about stars unless they're used symbolically in a poem or short story. Second, do you really think that light from stars should fill the whole sky? Like, have you ever seen a flashlight at nighttime? The reason we can't see all those stars is because their light is either too dim to reach us, or they're so far away the light hasn't reached us yet. Luckily, we have telescopes, so, we have evidence that there are stars out there that we can't see with the naked eye. Billions and billions of them. But upon doing some actual research into this matter, I found that this guy, Heinrich Wilhelm Olber, who created this paradox, assumed a static, that means unmoving, infinitely old universe with an infinite number of stars. It just so happens that our modern understanding of the universe is that it is in fact moving, expanding, is not infinitely old, and the number of stars, while uncountably many, is finite. So yeah, we solved this one. Oh, and by the way, that quote from Poe was taken out of context anyways. It was actually referring to the assumption that there are an infinite number of stars, which we can actually see in that portion of the quote.
Were the succession of stars endless?
It's a shame that flat earthers have to deliberately misrepresent reality in hopes that people won't actually look into the things that they say. I'm just asking flat earthers who may be watching, if the information isn't on the same side as you, is the information wrong, or is it just you?
18. The Michelson, Morley, and Sagnac experiments attempted to measure the change in speed of light due to Earth's assumed motion through space. After measuring in every possible different direction in various locations, they failed to detect any significant change whatsoever, again proving the stationary geocentric model.
Alright, so the Michelson, is he French? I don't care. Morley experiment really didn't have anything to do with the geocentric model. I mean, they weren't conducted until the late 1800s, centuries after the heliocentric model had already been widely accepted. To put it more accurately, it wasn't an attempt to measure the change in the speed of light due to Earth's assumed motion. It was an attempt to measure the change in the speed of light due to the presence of ether, which you may remember is complete bullshit. You'll see this pattern a lot in this series. From these flat earthers, you'll see bullshit justified by more bullshit, repeated ad nauseum until some people actually start to believe it. Well, that's all I have time for today. My glasses are completely fogged up. I can't really see any better with or without them at this point. Oh, and why am I wearing a drug rug outside if it's so hot outside? 'Cause fuck you, that's why. Peace and love, peace and love. Stay tuned for all the super rad, nifty videos I recorded while I was on vacation, and for the continuation of this series. Oh, I never shut this thing off.
Sit in the car and go to sleep.
But we're not going to. We're going to go to breakfast. We're going to go to a barbecue.
I don't care. I want to go to sleep.
You need to learn to shower more.
I don't care.